Okay, as a teacher, trainer, and coach, how does technology impact your presence? This is going to be our essential question for today. This is In the Classroom. My name is Benjamin Stewart. Before we get into today's topic, looking at technology and the role that it plays in one's presence and how one interacts with others, I want to let everyone know, if you want to be a part of this conversation, I'm broadcasting through Get Vocal. That's GETVOKL.com. If you want to be a part of this conversation, there are spots available. You can come in, interact, pop in and out, leave comments. There's also a chat feature, which is not going to be made available here in the recording. So feel free to join Get Vocal, follow me if you wish, and receive notifications for future broadcasts. Again, we're going to be conducting these talks in Get Vocal. And also, I'm going to be pushing this out to my Periscope feeds and also YouTube. So if you're watching these videos or watching in real time, feel free to leave comments as well. And feel free to reach out and follow me via Twitter. My handle is BNLEEZ. BNLEEZ. Okay, so today's topic: as a teacher, trainer, and coach, how does technology impact your presence? And I came across this article that really made me think about the role of technology in what I do day to day. I teach in a BA program in English language teaching, and I use technology quite a bit with the learners that I teach face-to-face. All of the classes that I teach are face-to-face, but I do incorporate some level of blended learning based on the goals of the course and also the profiles of the student. And so I oftentimes will use technology for my students to not only create their own work, but also in a way for me to be more accessible to them. And also the way that I provide feedback a lot of times will be via technology. But today I wanted to share a couple of thoughts about the role of technology and also look at and reflect myself how I'm currently using technology as well to be accessible to my students and also provide them some opportunities to interact both with me and also their classmates. But I came across this article in EdTech Update, edtechupdate.com. If you search the Future Proof Educator, you should be able to find this. This is a post by Chris Young. And basically the premise of the article is the importance of teachers making sure that they listen, being positive, being resourceful, asking key questions, being personable. And he says that teachers overachieve and they're passionate. He begins by talking about traits of a successful salesperson and then equates this with being a good teacher, being an amazing teacher. In fact, he lists out traits of an amazing teacher, again, as follows. They listen, they're positive, they're resourceful, they ask key questions, they are personable, they overachieve, and they're passionate. And I agree with the overall premise of this. I certainly agree that these traits are very important for any teacher, trainer, or coach. The thing I want to bring up, though, is in the same article, just below this, he basically includes the same list, and he replaces the title Traits of Amazing Teacher with Things Technology Can't Do. So he states things technology can't do. Technology can't listen. Technology, it says they are positive, so they can't be positive. They are resourceful. They ask questions, basically making a distinction between these materials, these objects can't have these human traits. And what I would like to discuss today is the idea that technology actually affords one to look at these particular traits in a different way. So if we look at a person who, let's say, in some ideal way here, or in some way does not use technology at all, of course, they're going, and they still could have all of these traits. But if they do use technology, certainly these traits are going to be different. And if we look at this or consider this idea of presence, or the ability to project a sense of ease or poise or self-assurance, especially in the quality of a manner of a person's bearing before an audience. So if we look at one's presence, the way that someone presents himself or herself in front of an audience, it's going to be quite different, or certainly could be potentially quite different if they are using technology in a certain way. So again, this idea of using technology to listen, using technology to be positive, I think that, I guess what I would argue, that technology affords one to listen differently. Now, it could be better or for worse, depending on the situation, depending on the person, perhaps using or having poor choices using certain technologies. Certainly, all of these traits could be positively affected or negatively affected, depending on the situation. But I think what I'd like to share is that I think too often we look at technology in isolation, and we think, okay, Twitter's good, Twitter's bad, or Facebook is helpful. Creating a Facebook page, for example, or a group for learners is a good thing, or it's a bad thing in general. And I think that the main thing we need to consider here is looking at context, or in the importance of context, looking at the person, looking at the particular group and the goals of the course, and realizing that a chart like this, things that technology can't do, really is not the point. It's really seeing what technology affords an individual to be able to do. And when we look at, as teachers, how accessible we can be with our students, I think one of the decisions I always make is looking at each semester, reflecting on the technologies I've used in the past, the technologies that are currently available, and what I could be using going forward, and asking myself, now, how can I listen better? How can I be more accessible? How can I provide feedback that's timely, that's necessary, that's when is feedback the most useful for my students? Perhaps when is it too much? When is it not enough? Looking at the second point being positive, how can technology be used to project positivity and being resourceful? Basically looking at all of these traits, any traits that we associate with being an amazing teacher, what role does technology have in bringing all of that together in the form of one's presence? So this is the main point I wanted to bring up and share and discuss with the community here, to see and ask that you reflect on what kind of technologies that you're currently using, what current technologies are out there that perhaps you could learn more about, to see how does that affect your presence? How does that make you be more resourceful? How does it help you listen better? How does your positivity come across through the technologies that you're currently using? What kind of questions, and how are you approaching the questions that you use, the key essential questions that you're posing to your students? How are those being communicated through the use of technology? Personable, how are you bringing across your own personality through the use of the technologies that you're currently using? In terms of overachieving, perhaps looking at how you're learning and interacting with others, and within the context of your own profession, within the context of your own teaching practice, how do you maintain and work smarter, and not necessarily harder, but actually work smarter, so that you become more effective and more efficient and more engaging as a leader, as an instructional leader, as a teacher, as a coach, as a facilitator, right? And your passions, how are you articulating your passions for the subject matter that you're responsible for. How are you articulating that passion and modeling that passion with your students as a way for maybe motivating them to be more passionate about the subject matter? So some key concepts here I wanted to share with you. I want to thank you for listening. This has been In the Classroom with Benjamin Stewart. If you want to be part of this conversation, please let me know. Follow me and Get Vocal. These are open broadcasts, so you can come in as you wish and leave your comments. These are, I'm just getting started with Get Vocal, and so I'm still learning and trying to figure out the platform and become more comfortable with the platform. So feel free to leave comments. If you're watching these recordings, feel free to leave feedback. If there are topics that you'd like to engage in or want me to address and talk about, feel free to leave those comments as well. Reach out to me via Twitter. My handle is BNLEEZ. Feel free to send me a comment. And again, I want to thank you for listening, and I'll see everyone in the next broadcast.